Hello. So, moving along in our Introduction to Objective Personality series. So, this video is going to be talking about the animal stackings. So, in the last video, we talked about the 4 different animals in objective personality: sleep, blast, consume, and play. And everybody uses all 4 of these animals, but they use them in a preferred order. That's called the animal stacking. So just to quickly review here, sleep is the animal resulting from the OI function plus the DI function. Play is OE plus DE. Sleep and play are the 2 energy animals. And then we have blast, which is OI plus DE, and consume, which is OE plus DI, which make up the information animals. So with the animal stacking, the A1 here represents the first animal. And then A2 is the second animal. So these 2 are written to the left of the slash. Both the first and the second animal here are savior animals. So for example, if somebody has this animal stacking here, consume and play would be the first 2 animals. These animals are done in a savior state. So this person would be comfortable taking in new, gathering new for oneself, which is consume, and then also gathering with the tribe, which is play. Now, this one here, A3, represents the third animal. So the third animal, along with this one here, A4, are both demon animals. So we're not as comfortable using these animals. They're in a demon state. So that would be, in this type here, sleep and blast. Okay, so this person would be less comfortable organizing for oneself, sleep, or organizing for the tribe, which is blast. Now, there is a difference between the third and the fourth animal. So the third animal, along with the first 2 animals, so animals 1, 2, and 3 here are all activated. Whereas the fourth one, we say that that's not activated. Now, in reality, everybody uses all 4 animals. We're talking about, like, relatively speaking. So the third animal, even though it's a demon, it's still turned on a lot more relative to the fourth animal. So that's why the third is considered activated and the fourth is not activated. So in this case here, sleep is the third animal. So even though it's a demon, they're still, utilizing it a fair amount, at least relative to blast, which is shown in the parentheses here, which is just not being utilized that much. It's kind of a void that person is leaving in their life. So a couple of rules to keep in mind when talking about animal stackings. So the first animal in somebody's stack is based on the savior functions. So there is a table here of the 32 types, considering the jumpers, and then what their lead animal is. So like for ISTJ here, SITE, so this is the standard version of ISTJ, they have to be blast first. Why? Because SI is an organizing function, OI here, and then TE is an extroverted deciding function. So if you combine OI and DE, you get blast, okay? So, and then you look at all these other ones in this blast column here, they all have an OI function, either SI or NI, and they all have an extroverted deciding function, FE or TE, okay? Now, if we compare that with ISTJ, jumper, SIFI, their lead animal is not going to be blast, but it's going to be sleep, because here here it is in this table, it's introverted organizing, SI, and then introverted deciding. So all of these in this column here, as you can see, all have introverted organizing, either NI or SI, and introverted deciding function, so FI or TI. And then in the consume column, as you can see here, they all have introverted deciding and extroverted organizing. So extroverted organizing functions are NE and SE. And then this column play would be extroverted deciding and extroverted organizing together. Now, the second animal, that one can vary, okay? Even if two people have the same exact two savior functions, they can have a different second animal. So the first two animals must be one energy animal, which is sleep or play, and one information animal, which is consume or blast. So if we look at the SITI version of ISTJ, well, we know that they're going to have blast first. The second animal could either be play or it could be sleep, okay? Because blast is an information animal, so the second animal has to be an energy animal. It has to be play or sleep. It cannot be consume second, because those are both information animals, okay? Because remember, blast and consume are on the opposite sides of a binary coin, so you can't really have them both as your savior animals. Now, the jumper version of ISTJ, SIFI, sleep is always going to be first, but the second animal, in this case, will be either consume or blast, because sleep is an energy animal, so the second animal has to be an information animal. You cannot have sleep first and play second. Now, the remaining two animals can be in either order. So if we're looking at the SITE, ISTJ, so we said that they can be blast first, play second, or blast first, sleep second. Now, the remaining two animals can be in either order. So like if they're blast play, they could be sleep third and consume last, or they could be blast play, consume, and sleep last. Okay? Now, this is a little different than just the cognitive function stack, because in the cognitive function stack, the first and the fourth functions are always opposite, and the second and third are always opposite. That's not the case with animals. So like this one over here, blast, play, consume, sleep, blast and sleep are not opposite each other, but blast is first and sleep is last. So that is possible when you're talking about animals. Okay, and then the blast, sleep, ISTJs. So you can have blast, sleep, play, consume, or blast, sleep, consume, and then play last. And then with the SIFI jumper ISTJs, these are the possible animal stackings: sleep, consume, play, blast, sleep, consume, blast, play, or sleep, blast, consume, play, or sleep, blast, play, consume. So you can kind of see here that for a given set of savior functions, there's going to be 4 ways to arrange the animal stackings, because that first animal is always locked into place, and then you have 2 choices for the second animal, and then the remaining 2 animals can go in either order. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about energy dominance versus information dominance. So this is another thing to look for that will help you differentiate between these animal stackings. So if somebody is energy dominant, they're going to have sleep and play in their top 3 animals. So if you're looking at SITE, blast, play, sleep, consume, for example, or NETI, consume, sleep, play, blast, these are considered energy dominant because this one's got play and sleep among the top 3 animals, and this one's got play and sleep among the top 3 animals. So an energy dominant type will be relatively balanced on expending and preserving energy, but they're less balanced when it comes to sharing or taking in information. An information dominant type, those will have blast and consume in their top 3 animals. So this would be the SITE, blast, play, consume, sleep. Okay, blast and consumer in the top 3, and then also this one over here, NETI, consume, sleep, blast, play. So with an information dominant type, they will be relatively balanced on sharing versus taking in information, but they're going to be less balanced on expending and preserving energy. So this is another thing to look for. Like if you're typing somebody and you want to determine their animal order, do they seem more information dominant or energy dominant? You may know like their ISTJ, SITE, you know their blast play, but what's that third animal and fourth animal? Um, like the blast, play, sleep, consume over here, they're going to be more balanced on the energy expenditure, but they're less balanced when it comes to information. They're sharing a lot more information than they're taking in for themselves. Whereas this one over here, blast, play, consume, sleep, they're pretty balanced relatively on sharing and taking in information, but they're not so balanced when it comes to energy. This one over here, they're going to be expending a lot more energy than they are preserving for themselves. Okay, so we're going to do a little practice exercise here. So you may want to pause the video for a bit. I'm going to have you list all of the possible animal stackings for ENTP. And I want you to consider both the standard versions of ENTP, the NETI ENTPs, and the jumper version, so the NEFE ENTPs. And then once you've listed all the animal stackings, I want you to indicate which ones are energy dominant and which ones are information dominant. Okay? Yep, so you may want to pause this if you want to do this. Okay, so here is the answer to the practice exercise. Okay, so the standard version of ENTP and NETI, okay, you should have gotten these 4 animal stackings. And remember, they're all going to be lead consume because they all have, as their savior functions, they have introverted deciding and then they have extroverted organizing. Okay, now the second animal can be either sleep or play. It can't be blast because consume and blast are both information animals. Remember that? And then these two can be in either order, those last 2 animals. Okay, so this one here, that's play last, you should have that as info dominant. And then the sleep last version over here is also info dominant. And then these 2 here that are blast last will be energy dominant. Okay. And then for the jumper version of ENTP, okay, you should have gotten these 4. Those will all lead with play because both of those savior functions are extroverted, and that's the play animal right there. The second animal can be either consume or blast, right? And you have a total of 4 possible stackings here. So blast last one is energy dominant. This one here, that sleep last, will be info dominant. And this one's info dominant. And then this one over here with consume last is energy dominant. Okay, so we can also look at the animals in terms of introversion and extroversion. So I talked about this briefly in the last video, so just kind of a review here, that sleep is the most introverted animal as it contains both of the introverted functions working together. And then play is the most extroverted, with the extroverted functions working together. And then consume and blast are in the middle. Now, in terms of extroversion, the DE trumps the OE. So blast is more extroverted relatively compared to consume here. So now, if we look at the animal stacking as a whole, we can kind of determine how introverted or extroverted somebody is going to present. Now, keep in mind here that introvert and extrovert is not a binary coin in objective personality. Kind of think of it more like a spectrum. Okay, so the most introverted stacking is going to be sleep, consume, blast, play, because the most introverted animal is first, the most extroverted animal is last. They're listed in order of most introverted and extroverted. And then the most extroverted stacking is play, blast, consume, sleep. Now, you've got 14 other possible animal stackings, you know, so to kind of look at how introverted or extroverted an animal stacking is, generally speaking, the more introverted animal stackings are going to have sleep and consume in the top 3 animals because those animals are both more introverted. And a more extroverted animal stacking would be those with play and blast in the top 3 animals. Okay, so this is showing a table of 128 types. So this considers both the 2 savior functions and then also combining it with the animal stacking. So we've now expanded the code to 128 possible types. Okay, so the animal stackings are in these columns over here. And then we show like the IP types in gray, the IJs are in blue, the EPs are in green, and the EJs are in pink. Okay, this video went a little longer, but I think, the concept of animals, it's a little more complex than some of the other objective personality concepts, but I think it's really interesting because it can really say a lot about somebody's type. And we're going to be doing one more video on animals, and then that's going to be looking at how the animal stacking is affecting the level of function activation, and that can explain why some types can easily be confused for each other. And then following that, we'll be discussing the sexual modalities. So functions can have masculine and feminine versions, which will present a bit differently. That will expand the code from 128 types to 512 types. Okay, so if you want to see more videos in this series, please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for notifications. I will also be adding a link to the playlist of videos in the description, and I will also share a link to my slides so you can look that over if you need to review anything. Have a great day. Bye.